Hello everyone, this is Not Quite Twins, Chapter 5. Izuku huffed as he lifted up the fridge. Hitoshi and All Might, the All Might, watching as he struggled to shove it across the sand. This wasn't the best footing, and pushing the fridge would be easier than lifting it and risking falling over like this. But at this point, if he was going to go through with this strength training, then he was better off making this harder on his muscles. So why are we at the trash beach again? Hitoshi asked, looking up from his phone to glare at All Might. Izuku looked over at the two. Strength training, All Might said. My quirk can be rather dangerous when given to another user, so if we're not careful, young Izuku's limbs might explode. They might what? Izuku asked, eyes wide. My quirk is incredibly powerful, so you need enough muscle to contain it, All Might said. Well, you already possess a ton of muscle, more than the average middle schooler. I think it's better to be safe than sorry, so I'm giving you the task of cleaning this beach. Hero work is more than just saving people, after all. As heroes, we strive to make the world a better place, and with something like this as community service, it acts both as a way to make sure you're strong enough and a way to teach you a lesson about serving the community. Makes sense, I guess, Izuku said, looking around the beach. When I was really little, it used to be a really pretty beach, but because of ocean currents, trash ended up here, and people started to dump trash here. Now it's this. You know your stuff, kid, All Might said. I've never seen this beach as it was, but you're tasked with restoring it. There's plenty of trash here, and I'll take care of paying for dumpsters for you to put the trash in. Once you've cleaned this section of the beach, I'll give you one for all. Now, we've only 10 months until the entrance exam. But while that may seem like a lot of time, we're actually on a time crunch. Yeah, I'm gonna be lucky to get this done in 10 months, Izuku said. His eyes darting around the beach. I'll have to figure out the surface area of the beach and divide that from day to day to figure out what I should expect to clean on average each day, and then take into account how much muscle I currently have and how much I should expect to gain over the next 10 months. Excuse me. Which will mean I have to take into account the difference from day to day and week to week and how much more I can do. I did not catch most of that, All Might said. He's calculating how much he'll have to clean each day, Toshi said. I have a feeling I'll be working towards understanding him these next few months, All Might said. Good luck with that, Hitoshi said. I think Mom still struggles here and there. Dad's better about it. Izuku snapped out of his thoughts and looked at the two. Okay, I think I figured out how much trash I should try to clean each week and how much of an increase I should be expecting to do. I'm aiming to get this done before the entrance exam, so the sooner I get done, the better. Just don't push yourself too hard. If I have to drag your ass to the hospital because you passed out while carrying something, Mom's never going to let you hear the end of it, Hitoshi said. Right, Izuku said, sitting down near them and taking out his notebook and a pencil. Alright, let's see. If we go about this in sections, numbering each section of the beach, clearing a section a week, and making them grow from week to week, with 10 months left, there's a little over 46 weeks, so 46 different sections. Does he do this often? All Might asked, giving Hitoshi a look, as Izuku continued to mumble and write. It's how he organizes his thoughts, Hitoshi shrugged. He does this often. Is there a risk of him mentioning one for all to anyone? All Might asked. Hitoshi pointed at Izuku. You think anyone actually tries to understand him outside of immediate family? I see your point, All Might said. Izuku grabbed Hitoshi's fist and threw him onto his back, the sand making the fall feel less horrible, but it still hurt. You good? Izuku asked as he helped Hitoshi up. Yeah, Hitoshi said, getting back into a fighting stance. I think I'm gonna get it this time. Izuku fully picked up the cabinet and tossed it into the dumpster, smacking his hands together as he turned around to grab the next piece of garbage. You're making really good progress. Are you ahead of that schedule you made? All Might asked, walking alongside Izuku. Just by a few days. There's still garbage being dumped here, and more is washing up each day, Izuku said, looking at the section he'd cleared already, some trash already near the shore. I need to be ahead, but it won't be long before I have to go over the same sections again. Especially if people keep dumping here. I might be able to keep up with trash that's just washing up, but if a ton of people come back to dump trash... Hitoshi looked at his brother and All Might, and then looked over at the trash near the shore. It wasn't a lot, but enough to be concerning, that's for sure. Couldn't Hitoshi use some training too? He wasn't as strong as the absolute beast that was his twin brother, but that didn't mean he wasn't strong in his own right. Izuku would finish the beach by the deadline, and maybe even sooner if Hitoshi picked up the washing up trash from the sea. We need to tell Mom and Dad about this, you know. All Might said not to tell anyone. He didn't even want you to know, Izuku protested. What if he decides not to give me the quirk to me? I'd never... Don't even think about finishing that sentence, Hitoshi said, shoving him slightly. You'll be a great hero, with or without One for All. But Mom and Dad should know what's going on, you know? I mean, they're already suspicious since we're spending more and more hours training. We're getting ready for UA, Izuku said. We've been doing that for years, Hitoshi said. This feels different. Training harder since we have a few months left? Izuku asked. And you suddenly taking on a more intense strength routine and wanting to go to the dojo less each week? Hitoshi asked, raising an eyebrow. I see your point, Izuku said. I'll ask All Might if I can. Oh, we're telling them whether he likes it or not, Hitoshi said. But if you want to give him a heads up, do it by the end of the week. Hitoshi, Izuku said, if he says he doesn't want them to know, then I'm telling them without his permission, Hitoshi said. Mom and Dad deserve to know. But, Izuku protested, this quirk can be dangerous. Izuku, blow off your limbs or whatever, Hitoshi said. Shouldn't Mom and Dad, and, I don't know, be prepared for any injuries you might have? And the whiplash of you suddenly having a quirk. Come on, you're supposed to be the smart one. How shocked and worried would they be if they didn't get time to prepare beforehand? I'll tell All Might tomorrow that we're telling them, Izuku said. Good choice, Izuku said. Inko and Hisashi stared at their two sons. Izuku fidgeted as he looked at the table, while Hitoshi stared right back at them. You're serious, Hisashi said. Yep, pretty cool, huh? Hitoshi asked. The quirk part, not how he meant All Might. And why didn't you tell us about this months ago? Inko asked, looking at Izuku. What if he doesn't want to give it to me anymore? Izuku asked, hunching his shoulders. I really want this quirk, you know? I don't want All Might to think I'm worthless again. Oh, we'll be having some words with him about that. Mind if we come to the beach with you this weekend? Inko asked, cracking her knuckles. Mom, don't kill the symbol of peace, Hitoshi said. Monotonically? I've never seen that word before. As if that was a completely normal sentence. I won't kill him. That's illegal, Inko said. So is assault, Hisashi said. Oh, good point, Inko said, but threats aren't. That's also a good point, Hisashi said, as Izuku sunk in his seat a little bit. Hell hath no fury like a mother scorned, or like Inko and Hisashi glaring at the number one hero as Izuku cleaned up the beach nearby. Hitoshi sitting somewhere between the two and glancing between his parents, scolding All Might for being an idiot and questioning him about the quirk and how they can help, and Izuku just pointedly ignoring the entire situation and picking up some tires. There's a loophole if you look closely. I'm not sure I'm seeing what you're seeing, Izuku, Hitoshi said, glaring at the packet. What loophole are you talking about? The sports festival backup? Izuku shook his head, then pointed at a paragraph. All non-combative belongings must be left in the locker rooms during the course of the entrance exam. It doesn't say all personal belongings, just ones not for combat. So, we could bring in knives or something, Hitoshi asked. I think so, Izuku said. Maybe hide them in our shoes or something just in case, but maybe that's me being paranoid. Your gut hasn't led us wrong yet, Hitoshi said, but we don't have much practice with knives. What even is the exam? They keep that locked tight, Izuku said. I can't find the content anywhere online, but I have a feeling we won't be fighting other students, liabilities and all that. The school would get sued often enough to cause a ruckus about the entrance exam and have it changed. However, looking at the quirks of students that are featured in the sports festivals, their quirks tend to be combat-oriented, opposed to students that would be good at search and find, or speed in particular. And UA graduates, students that are good at fighting, and UA graduate students are good at fighting, so I'd guess that there's at least some fighting portion of the entrance exam involving quirks. I doubt against students, and fighting against pro heroes would be an interesting choice, but to risk injury to teachers, even with Recovery Girl on site, that wouldn't be a good idea. So, what could the students be fighting against? Got it, you genius. We're fighting someone, just not teachers or students, Hitoshi said. We still have 1 month to prepare for the exam. Think we can do knives in that time? Realistically, no, Izuku said. But we don't have time to be perfect at them, just good enough to get through the exam. It's a good skill for heroes anyway, especially underground heroics like you're planning. So, do you want to convince Mom and Dad to buy us knives? I'll take that challenge, Hitoshi said. The next week saw Hitoshi using the living room TV to show his parents a slideshow he put together on that exact subject, while Izuku laughed his ass off in the background, shakily taking a video to later show All Might. The day after that, they walked out of the mall with 2 packs of training knives with the promise to practice with at least one parent present at all times. One more piece of trash. You can do this, Izuku. Of course, Izuku left one of the more difficult pieces of trash for last. An entire truck with flat tires. Moving it across the sand was going to be a bitch and a half, but it was the last thing Izuku needed to do. He just had to get it up the ramp and to the pile of trash. The sand wasn't making it easy, and he almost wished that he'd left some tires to change out for the truck. No, it was better for this to be harder. The harder this was, the stronger he was by overcoming this. He can do this. Go beyond. Izuku reached the ramp and dragged the truck uphill. I'm going to redo that. Izuku reached the ramp and dragged the truck up. It's uphill, and if he lets go or relaxes for even a second, it might start sliding back down to the sand. But he can do this. He can do this. Almost there. Go beyond. Plus ultra. Izuku reached the top of the ramp. He's home free from here. The trash pile by the dumpsters, the garbage men hadn't come by for a few days when the dumpsters had gotten full. But Izuku was finishing up and didn't want to have to wait for them to come by. It was right there. Almost. Izuku reached the trash pile and, just to prove himself a little further, dragged the truck up it a little bit, letting go and leaving it there as he climbed to the top of the trash pile, looking at the sky and shouting in victory. He did it. He cleaned the entire beach. He did it, and with a week to spare. He was so freaking tired. Izuku fell back slightly as the exhaustion hit him. It was early in the morning, and how long he had been cleaning today already. Hitoshi wasn't even here right now, having slept in a little later. He felt someone catch him, and he opened his eyes as All Might carefully set him on his feet. You all right, my boy? All Might asked. Yep, just finished the beach, Izuku said, swaying slightly before fully getting his balance. Plus ultra and all that. And you did a great job. The beach is restored, and people can finally enjoy it again, All Might said. And with an entire week to spare. He reached up and plucked a hair from his V-bangs and held it out to Izuku. Now, eat this! What the fuck? Izuku blinked at the hair. Then at All Might. Come again? Izuku said. You see, my quirk requires DNA to transfer, All Might said. This is one of the easiest ways to do so. So, eat up. Izuku blinked, then grabbed the hair. Well, bottoms up, I guess. Izuku shoved the hair in his mouth and swallowed a few times to get it down his throat. It should take a few hours to take effect, All Might said. Time for you to digest it and all. He coughed, then deflated. On instinct, Izuku grabbed a handkerchief and handed it to him. All Might gratefully took it and wiped the blood away. Thank you, my boy. Now I'm sure that your family will want to be present when the quirk develops, but I would prefer to be around in case of anything happening, and the beach is probably a safe enough place for the sheer power behind any punches you might throw. Good point. I'll call Mom right now, Izuku said, taking out his phone and dialing his mom. Any minute now, right? Will it be dangerous? Not really, All Might said. It can be dangerous if the muscle mass of the user isn't enough, but young Izuku has more muscle mass than I had when I first received the quirk, and I was able to use it at full strength without repercussions very quickly. Of course, the quirk has gotten stronger than when I received it, but I'm sure that... Can I see your arm? Izuku asked, suddenly reaching out. Sure, All Might said, reaching his arm out to Izuku, who grabbed it and pressed down. What was that? That was your quirk nervous system, Izuku said. I don't have one, but you do. Quirk nervous systems are there to make it easier to use your quirk. I shouldn't have those besides one for all. I don't have a quirk of my own, All Might said. It's rare, but it's possible for someone quirkless to develop quirk nerves and people with quirks to not. Izuku paused as the entire family stared at All Might. Wait, what was that? You didn't have a quirk, and you still told him that he couldn't be a hero without a quirk? Hitoshi exclaimed. I wasn't thinking straight, All Might said. I'll admit that it wasn't the best thought process at the time. Either way, by feeling for quirk nerves on my arm, I don't have any at all, Izuku said, feeling on his arm and holding it out to All Might. Quirk nerves work to regulate quirks from harming the user. It naturally stops you from going over your limits and hurting yourself. Since I don't have that, I'm more likely to get hurt because... He suddenly stopped as he felt something begin to crawl up his skin, and he looked down to see a light dancing across his skin. Oh, it's activating, Inko said, eyes wide. That almost looks like lightning. That's so cool, Izuku said as the light continued to get stronger. He started to stand up. All of a sudden, Izuku was several hundred feet in the air. Pain radiated through his legs, and he felt his bones hate him as he reached the highest point. The view was absolutely beautiful from up here, and he can almost forget the pain in his legs as he took in the view. Then he started to fall backwards, towards the ground, with a violent reminder that falling from this height was going to hurt like a bitch. All Might was quickly jumping upward and catching Izuku, getting him to the ground in a less dangerous way. Oh my god, Inko said, brushing forward as All Might laid him down on the ground. I am in contact with Recovery Girl. I'll call her and ask her for help with this, All Might said, immediately taking his phone out and stepping away to make the call. Oh dear, Recovery Girl said as she looked at Izuku. What happened here? She blinked, then looked at All Might. Wait, please tell me this isn't what I think it is. All Might scratched the back of his neck. Well, Recovery Girl grumbled to herself before taking her cane and smacking All Might. Then she kneeled down to Izuku and gave him a kiss. Almost immediately, Izuku's legs healed up, but his eyes slipped shut. I was going to tell you, I didn't think he'd break his bones, All Might said, rubbing at his leg. Of course you didn't think, Recovery Girl said. You never do. She leaned down next to Izuku's leg and felt around, making sure the bones were fine. Make sure he gets plenty of rest and gets a handle on that quirk of his. Of course, All Might said. How should we go about that? Hitoshi asked. Quirk counseling usually stops around the end of elementary school, but starting it for teenagers is difficult. Yes, it can be, Recovery Girl said. Hopefully, Toshinori here can help you figure it out. Who's Toshinori? Inko asked. Recovery Girl slowly blinked, then sharply turned to All Might, already getting up to smack him with her cane. He started to back away from her as she began to hit him. Then she quickly closed the distance with the grace of someone much younger than her and began to hit him hard. I can't believe you never told these people your name, Toshinori! Recovery Girl yelled as she hit him. How long have you been doing this? You need to be able to tell people that if you're handing over your quirk. I know, I haven't been the smartest. Ow, All Might said. I'm doing my best here. And it sure as hell isn't enough, Recovery Girl scolded, then sighed. Child, are you planning on entering UA? Yep, working to the entrance exam next week, Izuku said. I know a few colleagues of mine that would be great with working with the strength of your quirk, Recovery Girl said. I can ask them to compile a list of counselors in the area to help you with your quirk, and if you make it into UA, I'm sure they would be glad to help you out. She glanced at All Might, then back at Izuku. The entrance exam is in a week, and with a quirk that can break your bones, it might be best if you focus on going into Gen Ed and transferring later when you have better control. I'm taking the regular exam. I can do it quirkless if I need to, Izuku said. Bold choice, Recovery Girl said. Just avoid ending up with my office with too bad of an injury, please. I'll do my best, Izuku said. I'm gonna drink some of my coffee before it goes cold. I did not put enough creamer in that. Anyways, continue. Izuku stared at the large building in front of him, his mind racing. It's UA! The UA! I can't believe we're actually standing here. With any luck, we'll even get to go to school here. Oh my gosh, that would be a dream come true. Hitoshi lightly smacked Izuku up the head. Calm your ass down, it's too early for this, Hitoshi sighed, shifting slightly. My shoes are not comfortable right now. It's the best way to bring in any kind of weapon, Izuku muttered. At least any durable weapon. You also grabbed your pocket knife, right? Of course I did, Hitoshi said. You? Yep, Izuku said. Get out of my way. I don't know why that's funny. Both boys stepped to the side slightly as Bakugo walked past them, glaring slightly. Of course you're gawking, Bakugo said, rolling his eyes. You'd better not get in, and stay out of my way. With that, he continued walking. Well, I see he's as rude as ever, Hitoshi said. Does he seriously think we won't get in? Izuku glanced at him and noticed that his twin brother was shaking slightly. I mean, we figured out that the entrance exam is geared towards physical quirks. Izuku reached over and grabbed his hand, squeezing slightly. It's gonna be alright, Hitoshi. We've got this. We've been preparing for this since we were 10, remember? With that, Izuku took a deep breath and took one step forward, only to trip on his own feet and start to fall over. Whoa, Hitoshi said, grip on Izuku's hand tightening to help him stay upright. But someone else beat him to the punch as Izuku started to float. You alright? The two looked up to see a girl with brown hair, and it looked like she had little pads on her fingers. Since Izuku was floating, it was safe to assume that this was her doing. So maybe some kind of gravity manipulation quirk? 5-finger touch activation based on her hands. The girl said, trailing off, making Izuku realize he'd been talking out loud. Sorry, thank you, Izuku said. Of course, it's bad luck to trip right before the exam, after all, the girl said. But how did you just piece my quirk together? My twin here is a quirk nerd, Hitoshi sighed, guiding Izuku's feet back to the ground. Release, the girl said, and the gravity returned to Izuku. It took him a second to regain his balance, but then he bowed. Thank you, Izuku said, and sorry about that. My muttering gets creepy at times. I know it's a bad habit. No, I don't think it's creepy, the girl said, as there was an announcement. Tests will begin in 15 minutes. Please begin making your way to your designated testing room, the voice said cheerfully. Oh, crap. Still have to find our rooms. Good luck, the girl said, then turned and quickly walked to the doors. Good luck, Izuku shouted back, then dragged Hitoshi to the doors as well. Okay, so we're in different rooms. You're in 2C, and I'm in 2D. According to the map we got, second floor stairs should be right through the doors. Did you memorize the floor plan? Hitoshi sighed. Don't answer that. I think I already know. Good morning, listeners! Present Mike, Quirk, voice, can adjust the volume of his voice. Heavy-hitting pro hero and can do a bunch of damage with a single use of his quirk. Side effects could include losing his voice more often, potential hearing loss depending on how well his body mutated to. Hitoshi hit his hand, causing Izuku to quietly put a hand over his mouth and hunch his shoulders. Sorry, he whispered. Truthfully, no one seemed to notice. One of these days, I'm putting duct tape over your mouth, Hitoshi whispered back. Now, for the practical part of the exam, Present Mike said, gesturing to the screen behind him. You'll be fighting robots in a cityscape. That's a good way to test out the strength and combat ability against other objects, which would make sense considering the patterns of people with strength-based quirks. But it also discriminates against people like Hitoshi. How would his quirk work against a... Hitoshi smacked a hand over Izuku's mouth. There will be 4 different kinds of robots that you'll be facing, worth 1, 2, or 3 points, Present Mike continued. For each one you defeat, you get that amount of points, written on the side of each, so feel free to track your points. But don't worry, you aren't required to. We will be watching each examiner and calculating all of your points. That would explain how long it takes for the exam results to get back. I wonder if they have some kind of AI tracker, or if the teachers go out over each examiner themselves. The first would make sense, unless... Izuku looked at the test pamphlet, glad that Hitoshi's hand was still over his mouth as he began to scan through. Specific sections about weapons, perfect, they're encouraged, but obviously at this point, if you didn't bring any, there's no point. Wait, what's this? A true hero looks out for civilians surrounding them and acts accordingly. I wonder... Izuku flipped through the pamphlet, quickly scanning over all of the information as Present Mike continued talking. It's not outright stated, but interestingly enough... Excuse me! A boy with blue hair stood up, raising his hand despite clearly having no intention of waiting to be called on. You forgot to mention the 4th robot, the boy said. This would be a gross overlook on the part of someone from such a prestigious institution. Suddenly he turned and looked right at Izuku and Hitoshi. And you, with the green hair, you've been muttering on and off this entire time. Enough that the person next to you is clearly annoyed. If you're not going to take this test seriously, then I suggest you leave. Hitoshi looked at the boy directly in the eye as he glared at him. That is all, the boy said, sitting back down. I was getting to that part, listener, Present Mike said. The last robot is worth 0 points, and therefore is just an obstacle you should avoid. Now, you have cards showing where your testing ground is. Please make your way over to the dressing rooms dedicated to your testing ground. Izuku grabbed his card and showed it to Hitoshi. Different grounds. Makes sense, they don't want people from the same school working together, Hitoshi said, as everyone started to get up and move. And ignore what that guy was saying. Did you read the pamphlet? Izuku asked, as the two stood up. Why, didn't Present Mike tell us everything? Hitoshi asked. My changing room is that way. I'll see you after the test. Wait, Izuku said, but Hitoshi was already far enough was already far enough away. He'll figure it out, I hope. Hitoshi quickly made his way to the changing room, quickly changing as fast as he could, patting down his shoes and pockets for his knives. Yep, he has them, but since they'll be in a cityscape, he'll try to grab some kind of pole. Izuku got onto the bus to his testing ground, already going over his strategy in his head, but out of the corner of his eye, he noticed the blue-haired boy in a nearby seat. So he covered his mouth and bit his lip as he started to think. There's no telling how many robots are in each area, so my best bet is to try and get through as fast as possible to take out as many robots as I can right away, then continue on like that. I'll want to grab some kind of pole, maybe tear something off a robot right away if I can. However, there's also my theory about some kind of second point system involving keeping an eye on the people around you and keeping them out of trouble. So I'll be going back and forth between fighting robots and keeping people out of trouble, but I should probably focus more on the first in case it can also be interfering with their tests. The bus stopped, and the test takers began to get off. Izuku's hand slipped as he stood up and got off the bus. No time to hesitate. Continue to attack all the robots, don't stop, and try to only aim for the higher points. That's the best way to go about this. Rush in and get as many robots as possible, as soon as possible. There was a hand on Izuku's shoulder, and he quickly snapped his head to the side to see the blue-haired boy. "You're causing a distraction," the boy said. "Your muttering is causing everyone else to lose focus. Are you trying to make the rest of us fail our exams?" "Muttering is how I focus. I know it's a bad habit. I've been trying to curb it for years now," Izuku said, only sort of focused on the boy as he noticed President Mike gearing up for something. Izuku immediately prepared himself to start running. "Well, that boy's sitting next to you," the boy started. "Start!" Izuku immediately dodged through the crowd and ran through the opening doors into the fake city. "There's no countdown in real life! Go, go, go!" President Mike shouted at the other students, but Izuku quickly took out his pocket knife and charged at the first robot he saw, a one-pointer. If he could destroy it and take out a chunk of metal, he could use that as a bow staff to jam it into more robots. Izuku clashed into the robot and stabbed at the weak links of the robot, quickly slashing through the wires and kicking at the chunk, eyes quickly latching onto a metal pole in it. As the robot died, Izuku grabbed onto the metal pole and pulled as hard as possible, tearing it out with all his strength. No time to waste. Izuku hit the ground and ran towards the next nearest robot, a three-pointer that began to shoot a laser at him. A laser came from the side, and Izuku looked to see another examinee, who was starting to say something. "Thanks, I guess," Izuku said, then turned and ran towards the next robot, quickly stabbing this one with the metal pole, using momentum to chuck it at another robot nearby. 2 points, 2 more points. That's 5 points total, but the girl stood up after countering from the second robot, so who knows how many points from that, doesn't matter. No need to calculate that right now. He needed to get to the next robot. Izuku ran forward, quickly losing count as he continued to destroy more robots, glancing around at people nearby and aiming for robots that were close to attacking people that didn't seem ready to fight back. It wasn't long before there was a rumbling sound, and Izuku turned, along with everyone else, to see, "What the hell is that?" From the ground rose the zero-pointer as it clawed at the surrounding buildings, causing them to collapse. "Okay, I should have enough points. The test should almost be over anyways. I guess this would be a great time for extra rescue opportunities." As people continued to run away, Izuku saw the girl from earlier on the ground, crushed by some rubble. "Guess there's a reason that Recovery Girl is on site." Izuku immediately turned and ran towards her and the zero-pointer, falling down next to the girl and quickly lifting up the rubble. "Thank you! You're that guy from earlier," the girl said as the zero-pointer continued forward. Izuku looked at the zero-pointer, then glanced around. Nearby the rubble had gotten a few other people too, and sure the thing would stop soon enough. The UA staff would surely not let any students die or anything, but... "I'll be right back," Izuku said. Then he ran towards the zero-pointer. The easiest way to slow that thing down would be to destroy it, so it was the easiest to do that. Almost as if stunned, just by the thought, One for All cursed through Izuku's veins, and he knew that this was going to hurt. But he jumped and punched the zero-pointer in the face, destroying it. Then he started to fall. "Okay, so what should I do here? I can't just free fall from this height, but both my legs and my arm are broken. I have enough points and Recovery Girl is on site, so if I break my other arm, no more time to think. I'm almost at the ground." Smack! Suddenly Izuku was floating just above the ground. Then he hit the ground. Well then, that was eventful. President Mike announced that the test was over, and soon he heard a sigh. Looking up, he saw. "Sorry," he muttered sheepishly as he looked at Recovery Girl. "Reckless teenagers," Recovery Girl said. Should have seen this coming. She kissed his forehead, and Izuku felt tired as he felt his bones snap back into place. I'll have the medbots bring you to the infirmary. That twin of yours is taking the exam too, right? The recovery girl said. He'll have to make sure you get back home safe and sound. Yeah, thanks, Izuku said. Then he closed his eyes. Taking another coffee break. Onward. Hitoshi sighed as he stepped into Recovery Girl's office, looking directly at his brother, sleeping on one of the beds. He broke 3 of his limbs? Hitoshi asked, pinching his nose and groaning. Yep, Recovery Girl sighed, going after the 0-pointer. He did what? Hitoshi yelled, rushing to Izuku's side, just as Izuku started to wake up and looked at him. Hitoshi, Izuku said, rubbing at his eyes. Why are you so loud? Why are you such an idiot? Hitoshi hissed, then sighed. You know what? Let's just go home and get some sleep. You look like you really need it. Yeah, Izuku yawned, then slowly got up. Make sure he eats something too, Recovery Girl said. And I'd say I'd better not see you again anytime soon. But if you get into UA, I have a feeling I'll see you often. I'll make sure we get him to a court counselor for teenagers when we get in, Hitoshi said. Good luck, Recovery Girl said, then shoot them away. Now, go home. Hitoshi dragged Izuku out of the infirmary and out of the building. Hitoshi, Izuku said sleepily as they walked out. Mom and Dad should be working for a while. I'll text them right quick to let them know. Did you notice the extra point system? Hitoshi paused at that. The what? The extra point system, Izuku said. It wasn't outright stated in the pamphlet, but it said a true hero looks out for civilians surrounding them and acts accordingly. I scanned the pamphlet, and there were places in it that suggested some kind of second point system for helping out other examinees. There was? Hitoshi said. I can't guarantee anything, but I'm pretty sure, Izuku said. It would make sense since there are heroes that don't focus on the fighting. Most people that would gain these points wouldn't gain them on purpose, since I'm probably the only one that realized. It would make sense for why the test results take so long to get back. The teachers would have to view each and every person individually to figure out how to deal out the points instead of just using a specialized AI to track students to see how many robots they destroy. Okay, Hitoshi said. Do you think you got in? How many robot points did you get? I don't know. I didn't keep track, Izuku said. You? I think I got 28, Hitoshi said. I hope that's enough, but what if it's not enough? There were people that didn't even get 1 point, Izuku said. At worst case, there's Gen Ed. You're more than smart enough to get in, you know? And that's only worst case. I took note of different examinees, and I think that we're gonna do great. Yeah, Hitoshi said. We're gonna get in. Now, let's get you home. You look down on your feet. And feel every bit of it, Izuku yawned, leaning heavier against Hitoshi. Do I need to give you a piggyback ride? Hitoshi asked. That sounds nice, Izuku mumbled, yawning. Alright, get on, Hitoshi said, kneeling down. Izuku got on his twin's back, and Hitoshi carried him home. Test results, Izuku said happily, darting into the living room, holding the 2 envelopes. Toshi! Alright, I'm up, Hitoshi sighed, sitting up from the couch and looking at Izuku as Inko poked her head into the living room from the kitchen. Hand mine over. Izuku handed it over as he plopped down next to Hitoshi, holding his own envelope. Want to open them together, or should we go to our rooms and open them separately? Together, Hitoshi said. Well, you go first. Okay, Izuku said, carefully pulling open his envelope to reveal a disc. The disc lit up, and suddenly there was a hologram above it. Inko quickly grabbed her camera to record as All Might, him freaking self, appeared on the hologram. I am here, All Might said, to show you the results of your exam. All Might, but it's from UA, Izuku said, tilting his head. It is I, All Might, to deliver your results for the exam, All Might said, as the newest member of the staff. I don't think he's qualified to teach, Hitoshi said. Izuku lightly smacked his arm and gestured to the hologram. Now, on to your results. On the written test, you did exceptional, scoring 95%, making you one of the highest scorers we've had this year. As for the practical, you scored 55 villain points, fighting against the robots. This alone would make you be able to pass into the hero course. However, look at the screen behind me, All Might gestured. Wait, is that the girl that stopped you from tripping? Hitoshi asked. Yep, she also got crushed by some of the rubble. I helped her out, Izuku said. Hi, the girl said. I was going to ask about the boy that saved me. Green hair, freckles, kind of plain looking. Izuku pouted as Hitoshi snorted, patting him on the back. He saved me. He could have gotten more points. I think I heard him say something about knowing that I wouldn't be crushed, but, well, I was wondering if I could give him some of my points, the girl asked, causing all three to pause. If you don't mind, just as a thank you, you know? All Might paused the video and turned back to look towards the camera. A true hero looks out for civilians surrounding them and acts accordingly. How could we deny such a person from joining the hero course? This is why we had a secondary point system, rescue points. You called it, Hitoshi said. Color me impressed. Izuku Midoriya, for your actions during the entrance exam, you have earned 65 rescue points, bringing your total points to an astonishing 110, making you the highest scorer this year. A ranking screen appeared behind him. Ochako herself has earned 45 rescue points, earning herself a place in the hero course as well. There was a whispering to the side. Wait, I have to do how many of these things? Hitoshi snickered. Well, time to wrap up, All Might said, looking back at the camera. Izuku Midoriya, this is your Hero Academia. With that, the hologram ended. So, we're going to talk about how Bakugo got second, Hitoshi asked, grinning at Izuku. He's gotta be so mad right now. I got first? Izuku whispered, eyes wide. I got first! He whipped his head to Hitoshi. Your turn. Okay, Hitoshi said, opening his as well for the disc to fall down. I am here, All Might said, to show you the results of your exam. It is I, All Might, here to deliver your results, as the newest member of the staff. Now, on to the results. On the written exam, you scored 84 points, which is well done and on the higher end of scores, the average score being around 60%. The principal Nezu makes hard tests, doesn't he? As for the practical, you earned 28 villain points, placing you on the higher end of test takers. There were many that didn't even get a single point. There was a hidden point system, however. A true hero looks out for civilians surrounding them and acts accordingly. This is why we introduced rescue points for helping out fellow applicants. You earned 5 rescue points, earning you 33 total points. The screen showed up behind him, and Hitoshi grabbed onto Izuku's hand, squeezing gently as he fixated on his. The screen showed up behind him, and Hitoshi grabbed Izuku's hand, squeezing gently as his eyes fixated on his place. Tied for 36th place. Now, this is a little tricky, All Might said. The cutoff for the hero course is 36th place, which makes it a little hard to figure out which of you will be in the hero course. So, the board of directors had to make a tough decision and ultimately decided. Hitoshi held his breath, shaking slightly. He had to make it. He had to make it. The board of directors decided to place you in the hero course reserve. If any student doesn't show up on the first day, you'll be contacted and moved into the hero course. Same goes if any student leaves UA within the first week. All Might said. With your exam score, you're welcome to join the General Education Department. We're excited to see you when the school begins. The hologram turned off. I lost, Hitoshi whispered. Then the tears began to fall. And that was chapter 5. And about my upload schedule, I was doing pretty okay with just the one series, with just the one fic. But the videos are going to be more spaced out now because I don't want to injure my throat or anything. So yeah, just the videos are going to be more spaced out now because trying to avoid a throat injury. Anyways, that was Not Quite Twins, chapter 5. You know what to do. Subscribe, leave a like, maybe a comment if you feel up to it. Goodbye.